Hello, evening. Welcome to Popcast on the Rocks, midweek episode for April 1st, 2020, our spoiler cast edition, where we'll be talking about Westworld Season 3, Episode 3, after a bit of news. How are you doing, Andrea?
I'm good. I'm good. Happy April Fool's Day.
Yeah, were you fooled at all?
No, I don't think so. One of my friends did post some pregnancy news today, which I thought was very suspect given it's April
Sure.
Fool's Day.
Yeah,
But it so far
it's
seems to
legit.
actually be the real deal.
Okay.
So I guess we'll see tomorrow.
Yeah. Hmm. That's
Yeah.
that's not something to mess around with, I don't think.
Yeah, she's a big fan of April Fool's Day, so I kind of had wondered
Oh,
if, like, this was something, um, but then I sort of thought, well, she posted that she's A, pregnant, and B, having twins, so I
okay.
was like, well, maybe, the twins thing is the gimmick, the fooling thing, and she's only having 1 baby. So,
Yeah.
again, we'll see tomorrow.
That'll be karma to get her then, and she will have twins.
Exactly. Good
So,
luck with that.
I don't know. Um, I feel I heard that from the people I follow and whatever the sentiment seemed to be just don't.
Just
There's
yeah,
it's
kinda
just
leave it.
not we're not in the mood or whatever.
Yeah.
So, I didn't
Yeah,
I didn't listen.
I kind of feel like that's the case, like, everybody's just like, "Yeah, April Fool's Day is kind of canceled this year," so
Yeah.
which I think is fine.
Yep. Along with everything else. It's all canceled.
True. Thanks, COVID-19.
Yep. My
Get that trending.
my whiskey isn't canceled though. The
Yeah,
whiskey going down
nice.
my belly. Um, yeah, I'm back to some whiskey this week finally after I don't know, self-imposed ridicule, I guess, or
Well,
shaming.
well, I was gonna say this week you had some good news for our Saturday cast since you've been drinking beer so much. Um, it's National Beer Day on April
Really?
7th. So if you want to go on theme,
Okay. Hmm.
at least this week, beer
Well,
would be
okay.
acceptable.
So, I mean, feel I should, I suppose. Otherwise, I'm just intentionally going against the grain.
You can
Um,
do what you want to do. You be you, John.
yeah, I guess. Well, I'm gonna share with everybody what I got. It's Whistle Pig.
Which I
Um,
love that name.
yeah. So I was recommended the distillery by an old friend. Um, he recommended the Whistle Pig 12
Okay.
year. I guess this is 10. This is all that was available.
Mhm.
Um, but it's really good. I am
Nice.
I am a fan. And I found my whiskey like puck. So there's
Oh
no
my
I
god, I was wondering about that.
yeah,
No ice this week.
right.
You're,
So
like, full on this week.
going pure. Yeah. No,
I
this is
like
really
it.
good. It's a rye. It was perfect recommendation at the right time too, because we were out of rye. And I I had never really considered. We'd always had Irish whiskey plenty, and my dad's
Sure.
into single malt scotch, so we'd had that. Never a lot of rye or even bourbon, so
Sure.
it's good.
Does it make you think of the, whiskey tasting tour in Kentucky that you didn't get to go on?
How dare you? Well, that would have been bourbon. That would have been primarily bourbon. This
Bourbon
is
and rye
from
whiskey, I feel like,
yeah, this is
kind
from
of all in
Vermont.
that genre. Oh,
Mhm.
okay.
But yeah, no, for sure. Someday
You'll get
maybe
there.
next
You'll
year.
get there.
Yep. Mhm.
Well, in keeping with a W theme, it's Wednesday. We're going to talk about Westworld. You've got Whistle Pig Whiskey,
Nice.
which I am
Yep.
so proud of myself for saying
Yep.
correctly just now. I'm just drinking some wine.
Okay.
So
Nice.
got inspired by you last week. So I don't have a
Perfect.
white wine that would complete all of our W's. I have a red,
Okay.
but
All right.
that's
Yeah,
all right.
we had to stock up a little bit. We had to go in and I wanted to see if they had any of this Whistle Pig, and then
Sure.
we did get one new beer. That maybe then that's what I'll pull out on Saturday.
Perfect.
and then a few more wines too, and a mead.
Ooh,
Might open a mead for game night tomorrow.
sure.
So,
Yeah. What brand and kind is that? Is it just like
um,
regular or
it's called it's labeled as a dry mead. They're dry
Mhm.
mead.
Okay.
So sometimes you sit and drink a bottle of that, you're gonna get a little too sweet.
Yes,
So,
absolutely.
I can't remember. Our local liquor store only has a couple different kinds of mead. It's like midwinter mead or winter
Oh,
something
okay.
mead.
Sure.
So that's the brand. And we've had their stuff before and enjoyed it. So
Nice. Um, before, COVID-19 basically shut everything down, I had just learned that a new meadery had opened in White Bear Lake.
what?
Um, yeah, yeah, I
Oh
was really
man,
excited about it. And they
meadery.
do
I
like
hadn't wouldn't have even known
yeah,
that name.
yeah.
Okay, all right.
I had no idea, but we have some friends who live up in White Bear Lake, and they had gone and tried it, and they basically do like beer tasting or wine tasting just with mead. They do like
Hmm.
mead flights, and they bottle their own, and you can get bottles, but then I don't remember what they call growlers, but you can get whatever size like a beer growler is.
Flagons.
I
Um,
I wish it was that because I feel like I would
yeah.
remember that, but anyway, um, so I had, tried some of that because of our friends brought some to our Super Bowl party,
Mm,
um, and
nice.
it was quite good. There was a coffee one, and then I wanna say there was, like, a spring floral, which I wasn't sure if I was gonna like, but was also a little bit on the drier side, so it wasn't very
Okay.
sweet. So I did end up enjoying it.
Yeah, I
They're
like
2 very different tastes, but yeah, very good.
the floral things they can add to meat and
Mhm.
stuff are nice.
Yeah,
Goes
I
so
agree.
well with the honey element. I mean, that's um I don't know if I'm like just really a rye person now or this is really good because
You're
the last other rye we
making
had
me jealous.
I know, I can't think of the name. Our friend got it for me for my birthday and it
Mhm.
was but they only do small batches. So it
Okay.
like you get the bottle and in that run and then they're gone and they're always different. So, but
That's
it's
cool.
it's local.
Mhm.
It was great, but this is, I mean,
Digging
it's
it?
yep. You'll have to try some for sure.
Definitely.
Our producer is drinking a whiskey too,
That's right.
so
I'm the only one out of the
we should.
club
I
this
know
week.
we should have coordinated.
Dang it. Next
Yeah.
week.
Yep. All right. So yeah, just really quickly before we go on, I said at the beginning, but this is a midweek episode. Let us know if you want to keep doing these. This is going to be about spoilers with Westworld mostly,
Mhm.
season 3, episode 3, and it will just be on Twitch now and then YouTube tomorrow. So, and for the few news stories, um, I basically put all these in. So do you have input on any of them? Like is um, Home Before Dark, a new TV show coming to Apple TV Plus
I have
on April
not heard of
3rd.
that. Tell me about it.
Yeah, it just came out of nowhere for me. I didn't know it was coming or whatever, but it looks like kind of a murder mystery thing.
Ooh,
Dealing with
fun.
some kids though.
Okay.
Some like one of the kids goes missing and the other one's trying to find their friend or something. And I don't know, looks I'm interested in a murder mystery, I guess.
Sure.
So might take a look at that. Um, Re Zero. Have you seen it?
Yes, and I did see the trailer that you threw up there.
Okay.
Not much obviously being
No.
revealed.
Perhaps a new villain. I
Except
didn't
for
recognize
some
that.
yeah, and the mass, like, grave almost? I mean,
Slaughter
yeah,
on the battlefield. Yeah.
yeah,
Something.
kinda crazy. So something clearly has happened.
So did you like season one of Re Zero? Because season two, if I don't remember what I said, is Re Zero season two was announced. It just had the trailer come out.
Yes.
Um, I thought this was confirmed before. Maybe I missed something, but either way,
Sure,
it's a teaser trailer out now. So
right. I haven't seen all of season 1,
okay.
so I don't know that I should, like, give my total thoughts on that, but
Sure.
have you seen all of season 1?
Yes.
Okay.
Um, I definitely liked it at the time. I mean, it's one of those there was like a string of anime in a time frame where there was a lot of frustrating moments. Like there are shows that are seem to be designed to create frustrating moments.
Okay.
Um, so an example is the Rising of the Shield Hero.
Mhm.
Um, Incredibly aggravating. Like the characters they create in there are so wicked and terrible, and it's just
Sure.
there's something in us that triggers when you see something that's so unjust in
Sure.
front of your eyes. And it's to a lesser extent in ReZero, but it occurs there too.
Okay.
So it's frustrating, but it's
Sure.
compelling nonetheless. So
Sure. It makes me think of, like, the way that, like, Game of Thrones kind of early seasons were designed.
yeah,
You got that, like, frustration where, like, Ned Stark or, like, the whole Stark family, they never
yeah,
really get a break, but it's so apparent in the early seasons where, like, like, their family keeps getting killed and
yeah,
all the Lannisters, like, keep rising. Joffrey's so terrible and nothing is done, and it's just like, "Oh
yep,
my god, like,
yep,
somebody get some justice."
yep,
So, yeah.
exactly. If you want that, but like just tons of that, watch
Sure.
Rising of the Shield Hero. It's
Okay.
insane. We stopped watching it because it made us so mad.
Sure.
Um,
Yeah, I feel like there's, like, a breaking point where you're just like, "No, I can't live
mhm,
with this,"
yep,
kind of thing.
yep. So I'm watching. I started now My Hero Academia too for another anime.
Oh, okay, sure. How
Um,
you liking that so far?
Good. I mean, it's all the rage, it has been for
Mhm.
a while, I guess.
Yep,
So giving that a shot, and I'm only a few episodes in, but it's fun so far.
good.
Good messaging. So
I
yeah.
am, as far as shows go, I feel like I am following popular trend, but not following, like, the trend of excellent television because I, like many people in America, am watching Tiger King right now.
I knew that was coming. Yeah.
I know. I mean, it's everywhere. And I'm
Yeah.
like, I'm half obsessed with it and I half hate it. I
Okay.
it's a half hate watch.
Okay.
Um, yeah. I feel like the core mystery of it is interesting and the
Hmm.
core like storyline is interesting. It's just these characters are a lot. And
Well, I've
the
heard that
storyline is
it's
framed in very, very deliberate ways to make you think
right.
very deliberate things. So
Yeah.
it's kind of tough when a filmmaker has that heavy of a hand where you're like, "Man, I really feel like I'm being led in a certain direction right now."
Yep.
So,
I mean, that's ultimately generally the issues with documentaries
mhm.
and or anything so um I remember here's a tangent for you. I remember as a in high school, a friend and I were going to make another video on something. It was going to be like more of a report kind of thing, like an
Sure.
investigation,
Mhm.
and it's irrelevant what it was, but we would go around and start interviewing some people. And the first initial temptation was, well, the things that this person said didn't really support our thesis.
Yeah.
It didn't really support what we're out to what we want to say.
Mhm.
So why don't we not include that? Well, that's the
Mhm.
first like bump up against integrity,
Right.
in that kind of field where it's like,
Right.
there's people that go against this every day, or you got it like, so you're making these films. What is your intention as you set out?
Right.
Is your intention to slander someone, to set someone free, to have justice done, or to like find the real, like
Right.
optimistically, the goal is always let's find the truth.
Right.
But I feel like seldom that's really the starting point because it's hard to not start with preconceived notions of something. So,
Absolutely. Yeah, and I mean, I feel like part of the trouble with this particular documentary is that on one side there's this like flamboyantly gay man and on the other side, there's this, like, very chill, kind of hippie child-esque woman, and
Mhm.
the people that they surround themselves with are very similar to themselves. So, it's, like, weirdly like, even though, like, Joe Exotic, the main character, is gay, like, he's got a bunch of, like, guys around him, and she's got a bunch of women around her, and it feels like this weird, like, power of the sexes dynamic somehow,
Hmm.
and
Okay.
it's so, like, obvious that
Okay.
I just find it off-putting, and it's just,
Okay.
like, one example of, like, the way I feel like this documentary is sort of, like, pointed, like, setting up sides in very
Mhm.
clear-cut, like, men should be over here and women should be over here,
Sure.
and, like, if you're a woman, you're probably gonna sympathize with the woman of the show,
Sure.
and not that I, don't sympathize with her in moments, but I don't know, it's just something weird about, like, being reduced to your gender, and
Sure.
that's how you should view this problem.
You're not
So
used to it yet, Andrea, in this day and age? Okay.
not that I'm not used to it, but,
Okay.
usually it's a little subtle, and I can at least
Sure.
appreciate the subtleties. Where
I
here, it's, like, so blatant, it's just like,
Mhm.
"Boy, thanks."
I intend to watch it. I had heard so this is how little I involve myself sometimes in social media and stuff. I had
Mhm.
no idea what this was. Phil's like, "You gotta watch
Yes.
Fire King,"
Yeah,
and
no,
I'm,
we hadn't really I mean,
"What's
I'd sort of heard
talking
of
about?"
yeah, I'd sort of
Mhm.
heard it circulating or, like, I'd seen, like, the main character, Joe Exotic, like, I'd seen pictures of him on Facebook or whatever, but I just had no context for who he was.
Sure.
And I was just like, "Okay, there's a weird guy with a mullet and a tiger on Facebook, like, whatever."
Yeah. Another
I mean,
day.
yeah, I mean, really, the things that pop up there, like, whatever, they don't really
Yep.
mean anything to me.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, so until Phil had said, like, "You have to watch this," and I was like,
Okay.
"Alright, fine."
I heard it coming up in other places now today. So,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, but I suppose I'll try it, you know?
I actually was mostly convinced to try it when, Phil had said that they were gonna make a movie about it already, like, it was already such a big thing that they were like, yeah, a studio was bidding on the production, and wanted to make a movie about it, and then it was gonna star Dax Shepard as the main guy, Joe Exotic,
Mhm.
and, Kate McKinnon as the woman, Carol Baskin, and I
Oh,
was like, "I love them." And I totally see Dax Shepard being this
sure.
character.
As you've
So
described it, I could see that working, yeah.
yeah. So I was just kinda like, "Alright, that's actually mostly why I gave it a chance." I was like, "I'll see what this is and what they're gonna do with it." So,
Hmm,
I haven't finished it yet. I'm just, like, 2 episodes in. We'll see where it goes from here,
okay.
but
Well, if it's too long, maybe I won't endeavor, but
it's only, like, 6 episodes, I think, so
okay,
it's not
okay,
crazy. You can knock it out, I think.
okay. Well, in, a very different track than that,
Yes.
I think,
It was my
not
turn for a
sure.
tangent. Sorry, everyone.
No, I mean, I guess there's spot tigers in this, and there's the
Okay.
cat suit in the Mario game. So
Oh, there you
Mario
go.
remakes coming this year,
Yeah, I saw that.
supposedly. So that's a big rumor. Um, People are wondering what Nintendo's going to be,
Mhm.
what they have up their sleeve this year, because every year since the launch of the Switch has been pretty nonstop, really,
Right.
for Nintendo titles. And this year has been kind of, other than Animal Crossing now, what's the rest of the year gonna hold?
Mhm.
So the rumor is we're getting a potential like good chunk of Mario remakes, Super Mario Sunshine, Super Mario 64, Super Mario
Nice.
Galaxy, and a new Paper Mario. And that's all coming
It's quite
along.
substantial.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, I think it's a good thing. It's a good idea, if you're kind of they're kind of if they're a little behind on making their Metroid Prime 4 and if they're not ready for another Pikmin and maybe Breath of the Wild this holiday season, maybe that's next year, then the
Sure.
sequel. Um and I think it's the 35th anniversary of Super Mario Brothers
Oh, okay.
um this year.
Did
So,
not know that. Very cool, though.
yeah.
That
So
makes
yeah.
sense. And I mean, for, any company, now is the time to get out gaming content. I mean, everybody's stuck inside looking for stuff to do. So,
Yes.
I mean,
Yep.
if they're doing remakes, at least they already have the content there. They're just,
Yep.
remaking it.
Yep.
So,
No, it'd be great. So, oh yeah, and then I guess along with that, I'm excited. So I've gone to Universal Studios a couple times,
yes.
and there's um, the Mario Land is supposed to be coming there too. So we'll probably
What?
get more details with that.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
the one in Japan is going to be opening first.
Okay.
But yeah, I believe Nintendo Land is coming
Nice.
stateside to Universal. So
Nice.
because they're going to eventually have to get rid of all the Marvel stuff. That
Right.
stuff's going to have to go. So you're going to need to put something else there. And
Right.
what better than Nintendo
I
worlds?
like it. I like it. I'd go back for that. I haven't
Yeah.
been to Universal in a long time, but I'd go back for that.
Were you there during Harry Potter when that was there yet?
No.
Oh no.
I was literally right before, like, I saw them working on it. I saw the construction for it.
Okay.
Um, but no, I've never gotten to go.
Hmm.
So, I mean, yeah, not that I wouldn't go back for Harry Potter, but, like, this would just be, like, kind of bonus,
Yeah.
cherry on top kinda thing.
Yeah. It keeps being like a need to wait. Keep keep waiting. We were gonna
Mhm.
go to Disney World at some point, and it's like, well, they're doing the
Sure.
Star Wars stuff. Let's wait for that.
Yeah.
And then
Yep.
it's like now they're doing the whole you're gonna have a whole Star Wars experience. So you can stay
Yeah.
in a like Star Wars themed hotel and there's like a script and different stuff. It's like, well, maybe we should just wait for that now. So it's always a waiting game.
Always something more, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. The main topic. This will be titled.
Westworld.
Yeah, Westworld. Um, season 3, episode 3. What'd you think?
Yeah, yeah, we're, back to Dolores and Charlotte, although we're obviously now by the end getting hints of our first contact or how they're gonna link up with Maeve. So that was,
Yep.
interesting at the end there. Um, I enjoyed the episode
Okay.
because it really explored, um something that we've been wondering from the very first episode, which is like, who is Charlotte Hale? Like now that
Yeah.
she's not Dolores, or at least this version of Dolores, who is she? Because I saw several different theories
Okay.
that followed some things that I'd been thinking, um, throwing out there that one, it was Teddy or a version
Mhm.
of Teddy, because
Yep.
Teddy's supposed to be in robot heaven in like whatever that alternate universe
Oh,
thing is. Um, so it was like maybe an earlier version of Teddy that
okay.
Dolores had backed up.
Okay.
Um, or it could be an earlier version of Maeve, an earlier version of Dolores herself, when she was like Wyatt, which vaguely triggered my memory back.
Mhm.
Although I don't remember it perfectly. And then the other possibilities were Clementine or her dad, Peter Abernathy. So a
Yeah.
lot of different possibilities. And I
Okay.
feel like they each sort of have merit based on what we saw in this episode. Like
Okay.
they all none of them worked perfectly, which of course I don't think that the writers wanted them to, because then of course
Right.
you would guess right away. And where's the fun in that? Um, but each of them had like a little element of like this could sort of work.
Well,
So
bring us through it. I mean, like, how do you see them, how do you see those lining up?
sure.
Because I hadn't
So
thought of a bunch of those as options.
yeah, I hadn't thought of like a previous version of Dolores, which was the theory that I saw floating out there right now that worked for me in the sense of um Dolores in so present time Dolores in her actual host form says to present Charlotte that, um I know you better than anyone, and nobody knows you like, or nobody knows me like you. So obviously that could support either an earlier version of herself,
Mhm.
could support a version of her father, or could support a version of Teddy.
Yep.
And I think the way that like they so yeah, so that element could support any of them. Um and then the way that, like, they interact with each other, like, Dolores offers Charlotte comfort. They're, like, spooning on the hotel room bed when they're
Mhm.
together is very reminiscent of the way that they were positioned when Teddy died.
That's a
Um,
good call. Yep.
so, that sort of made me think like, "Oh, interesting, like, this is very similar."
Right.
Um, Other elements that sort of negated that theory, or some of these theories anyway for me, um, were, like, the self-harm that Charlotte inflicts on
Okay.
herself.
Mhm.
I didn't really see Dolores doing that. I didn't really see that as being like Maeve. I saw it maybe as Teddy, iffy. I saw it maybe as her father, since he's Peter Abernathy, since he's so unstable all the time
Sure. Yep.
when we've seen him recently. Um, and then flipping back to like early introduction of Charlotte, she seems very confused. She knows like she's not Charlotte Hale, but she's like, why can't I be me? She's very like innocent, childlike, needs Dolores to like hold her hand basically.
Mhm.
So that doesn't really suggest Dolores herself. That doesn't really suggest Maeve. But again, points to like Peter, Teddy, maybe Clementine, since she needs to be taken care of by Maeve all the time. Or at least she did
Yeah.
in like early season
Mhm.
1. And then forwarding to later in the episode, where we see like, Charlotte's been going through the motions at Delos, trying to figure out as much as she can. She's aware that there's, kind of a mole inside the company
Yep.
that's, helping somebody take over, which by the end of the episode, um obviously huge spoiler alert, we learn it's her,
Mhm.
or at least previous actual human Charlotte.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
TBD on what this host Charlotte will do.
Mhm.
Um, but then, so she figures that out at the company, but then we see her and she seems like sort of confident, but still again needs Dolores to tell her what to do. Then we see her go home and interact with her ex husband and her son. And here's like some more like, who could this be?
Yep.
Because when she doesn't recognize her husband or her ex-husband, her immediate first thought is to just like shut up his questions by making out with him.
Yep. So that's a Clementine.
Right. It doesn't suggest Teddy or Peter. It's at least as far as I know.
Yeah. I
Suggests
mean, out of the
Clementine
loop
or
now,
Maeve.
who knows?
Yeah, exactly. Um, Suggests like a Clementine or a Maeve. Potentially even maybe early Dolores. Who knows? Um, And then, doesn't really seem to get like warm towards her son until the end of the episode, when she sees this like pedophile stroking his hand and
Yep.
masking it as like stroking a dog, and then
Yep.
proceeds to choke him to death and say, "Hey, I remember that I'm a predator." So that
Well, I don't know
again
if it's
would
to
suggest,
death or not. If I was wondering that, like, if you think
I
he's dead or not.
I'm fairly certain he is.
Okay.
He seemed
Not that
pretty
we'll
still.
know. Yeah, we want we'll yeah.
I mean,
Not
he
that
could
we'll
be unconscious, I guess, but, like, it would seem actually almost weirdly messier if she, like, took his dog and left him alive to, like, come find her.
well, it's kind of the bigger, like, you know, I don't know what the word for it is, but, like, power play, I guess. It's
Sure,
like,
yeah,
you're
like, what
not
are you gonna do
this
about it?
yeah, right.
I choked you in plain sight of
Mhm.
basically anybody who could have looked over.
Yep.
But yeah, so then again, would not suggest maybe either Teddy or Peter, since they don't, like,
Mhm.
by nature have predatory instincts.
Yep.
Um Could suggest a reprogrammed Clementine, where she was that weird, like, gas bomb at the end of season 2.
Yep.
Um, could suggest Dolores, could suggest Maeve. So,
So what are your odds? Where are your odds sitting?
I'm feeling like it's not Teddy.
Okay.
I just feel like it's just not quite there for me. Like, all the pieces aren't lining up with one
Yeah.
another.
They're playing with the idea though, it seems that how much of this is how much of you is determined by your shell, you
Yeah,
know.
absolutely.
And So it's kind of like the ultimate version of you put on a costume or a mask or whatever, and you're feel willing to be
Mm.
something very different.
Mhm.
Um, and so, what would a Teddy do?
Sure.
Who, this character clearly still, like you say, needs help, needs is softer ways, but then it's kind of a switch turned,
Mhm.
and Teddy had that sense of justice. He was
Yeah.
used to trying to defend Dolores and stuff like that.
Right.
And I can see, you know, I don't know, I could see that. And to me, most of the episode, I thought probably Teddy, just because of how
Yeah.
she had talked about how close, no one knows me better, or whatever, that kind of thing. I trust you.
Right.
I like like you say, when there is spooning, that makes sense. And he's also the guy that is the most feasible that she would have his, I want to say stack, but his
I know.
chip.
His pearl.
Yeah, his pearl. Yeah.
Yep.
Um,
Yeah. I thought about that until I remembered that he was supposed to be in robot heaven.
well, where
Um,
where was that? Like, I mean, because he died way before. Like,
she, like, put him there when she was, like, programming and, like, opening it up.
hmm. See,
So
I didn't
so
see.
I
I
don't
never
know.
saw him in there,
Yeah,
and
no, you don't see him in there.
mhm,
You just see, like, his pearl, like, be part of what opens up robot heaven.
okay, that would be
So
interesting to me that she
that's
would
what I
do
was
that
wondering. Yeah.
because she's so opposed to that
Yeah.
idea.
It would be, I think, a weirdly selfless thing for her, but she could do
Mhm.
it for Teddy.
Yeah,
I think if there's any character she would do it for, um, it would probably be Teddy or her dad,
yeah,
because he seems, again, so unstable that he sort of needs that, like, release, um, or at least, the last few times we've seen him. But so the thing that I thought of, after the show, I was like you. I most of the show I thought it was Teddy. And then was after the show kind of rethinking my choice. Um, because I thought, well, and I actually rethought Clementine after the show. Like, there were moments up until, Dolores said, "Nobody knows me like you," and, you know, I know you better than anyone. And I was like, that doesn't really suggest Clementine.
right.
Um, so I had thought her father, because, like, he was previously, I mean, before Westworld, he was an actor. He was a host who played an actor, like a Shakespearean actor.
Okay.
And so I thought, like, oh, if anybody would, like, get into his role and start sympathizing and sort of, like, get maybe a little too far into it, like Charlotte seems to do, it would be him. Like, he's play acting and sort of, like,
Yeah.
learning about himself, but
Hmm.
then, like, ends up watching that video where, like, real human Charlotte sings to her son, and, we see host Charlotte cry and sort of, like, you know, feel like, "Oh my gosh,
Hmm.
real Charlotte's taking me over." I don't know, I thought
Her.
maybe Peter Abernathy, plus, like, it would still fit within, Dolores's "I know you and you know me."
Yeah, yeah. That's the holdup for Clementine
Right,
because we never really see them interact very much.
right.
Um,
So unless there's something, we're gonna learn about.
yeah. But I feel like if they're gonna do this service, we should have these pieces
Yeah.
and should, as for her father, it would be surprising to me. I understand the trust part and me part, but that was the one holdout that kept her really grounded and caring
Mhm.
was her father. That was the one thing that I can think of that, you know, she was okay putting Teddy through the ringer and
Right.
like do what I say and stuff. But her father she was always sympathetic. And it was always the thing that would kind of bring her out of, like I have my mission here.
Right.
Nothing's gonna stand in my path. And I felt like he was the kind of exception, you know.
Yeah.
So would she do this to him? And would
Right.
she, I feel like she would care more deeply, you know? unless she's hit now the realization, okay, this isn't really my father,
Right.
whatever. But to me, it'd be like the situation where she's cutting herself that would deeply hurt her, Dolores, you know,
Mhm.
and concern her and stuff. And she's just kind of like, we need to get you over this
Right.
so you can keep
Yeah, she
going with your
cares, but it's
task.
not, like,
Yeah.
deeply
I will
upsetting.
cuddle with you till you go to sleep and I can
Right,
get out of here and get doing things.
right.
So,
Yeah, it's tough because I felt like this was something Dolores would do for her father, like that, we need to get you healed and, I'll hold you because you're fragile mentally and emotionally, because he is so often. But yeah, like there wasn't almost quite enough of that for it to be
mhm.
convincing. But again, you know, I feel like it would be hard to do for the showrunners to put all their eggs in one basket like that. They gotta keep you guessing a little bit,
Yeah,
so
right.
I'm still like, this is a possibility even if I'm not fully convinced.
Yeah, maybe some other options we're not thinking of will become apparent. I don't really
Yeah.
like the copy element, like a copy of Dolores or anything like that.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean, obviously it would make sense. It would make logical sense because nobody knows her better than she knows her.
mhm,
Um, and then it would be very confusing to a copy of her, like why she has to pretend to be Charlotte Hale. Um,
yeah. Why do you get to be me?
right, and I
Mm,
don't get to be me.
yeah.
So yeah, so there's elements that fit, I think better for Dolores than maybe better for a copy of Maeve.
Yeah,
Um,
Maeve, I don't see it all. Just because
yeah,
she's so I mean, she had her weakness too, her daughter, but she basically is so strong-willed
mhm,
and intelligent. I don't see her just playing along. Like, this person is clearly competent. They're navigating their way well through this person's life at this point. Like, they're picking up on
right.
things, I think, but they're ultimately just being Dolores's pawn, and I don't know that I see Maeve
Maeve.
doing that.
Yeah, Maeve's not a pawn for sure. Um, and I mean, it would again be tough with like, you know, we don't see Dolores and Maeve interact that much. So how would,
Yeah.
she know Dolores and
Yep.
Dolores know her? Um, I think it's certainly still a possibility.
Mhm.
Um, but it's an outside one. Much like Clementine. I think Clementine's probably the farthest outside, and then I would say
Okay.
maybe Maeve copy, then Teddy, then no. No, I don't know, between, like, Teddy, Peter Abernathy, and then Dolores herself, I don't know which one I feel is more likely right now.
So,
I feel they're all in there.
have we seen copies, of hosts before? Like, I mean, we've seen body copies, like
Right.
lots of different, but has there been a host running around at the same time and it's the same mind in it, basically a copy of it? Have we seen that?
I don't think so, but when somebody mentioned, like, Dolores as, like, whatever Wyatt was in that season 1, I was
Yeah.
like, "Right, I'm sort of remembering this." It was almost like a split personality kind of thing that Dolores
Hmm.
was experiencing, and I can't I should have looked it up more, but I just, like, saw it kind of right before we started, the show, so I didn't get into it, so I might have to look up that for next week.
Yeah.
So that
I
was, like
mean, it was what she had been, to my understanding, it's what she had been set to do, like programmed so she would kill a whole bunch of people. So it's like
mhm,
another element of her that would switch on and would be the one that would, for the storyline and whatever,
right.
would kill a bunch of people.
But it's also, I mean, if you think about it, it's kind of a separate piece and could be like a standalone piece, if it was developed enough, in the
Yeah.
sense that like Bernard is, an example of someone who's basically like split right now. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, it sort of has been all along, but it's like really apparent right now in this season because he has a remote that basically like turns part of him on and off.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you could theoretically split those elements of Bernard up
Hmm.
and copy that one of them onto a whole new pearl and put it into a whole new body.
Yeah, I guess I
So
just
I don't
don't
know if
like
the
that
argument is
they're I don't
that
like
could
if
be.
they it's I think anything is possible
Mhm.
because I mean, obviously all these things make sense within the possible reality of this world.
Right.
But I don't like if they give us clues and keep us guessing and then throw a completely new thing at us.
Right. Right. It
That's
feels
my
cheap.
issue.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I think if they would have, you know, explained up front with one
Sure.
character that here's a copy or something like that, and then keep us guessing with another character, we'd understand, well, this could just be another copy of someone else now or something.
Sure. Although, I mean, we do see that storage locker full of Bernards.
Yeah,
So,
but none of them
again,
are working. That's I mean, like
but,
I
like,
say,
did
it's
they
certainly
once?
possible.
Did they simultaneously exist once? Like, I think it's a
Yeah.
possibility that
Yeah.
they hint at, but I agree that it would feel a little cheap as a viewer to, like, have this whole new thing come
Yep.
up this way. Because I think I want it to be somebody else.
Okay. Yep.
So, it would be tough to, like, all of a sudden have it be, like, another Dolores. But I'm not
So,
ruling it out.
what do you think of the storyline we're getting now um with Dolores and New Face guy?
Caleb?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think of this line? And more importantly, I think what do you think of her sort of mission statement? Do you like does it convincing enough for you as like her
That
call
she's
to
gonna start a
action?
revolution.
Yeah, is she telling the truth? Like what are
I
your
I
thoughts
think she's
there?
yeah, I think she's telling partial truths at least. Um, I mean, starting a revolution is sort of like a broad term, so she's not
Mhm.
saying for who or to do what. I mean,
Well,
we usually think of revolution as liberation, but she could mean liberation from the machine and the system, or she could mean liberation through, like, ultimate freedom of death.
it seems to
Because that puts
me.
you beyond anybody's control,
Yeah.
theoretically.
So she said,
So
"We want to show everybody what these humans really are." And sympathized because with a human for once now,
right.
because she felt that he had been controlled and put in a box,
Mhm.
and I had too. So we
Right.
have something in common, and I want to. But why is Dolores now want to take all the humans out of their boxes? It's like a liberation of humanity.
Sure.
What does that do for her, and how does that help her in in like her I don't know, her initial
Sure.
crusade for freedom? Like she's trying to be free, right? I mean,
Right.
humans
Well,
are
she wants
lesser
she
kind
wants
of.
the real.
Yes, yep.
I mean,
But
she
she'll
wants
never.
freedom, but she wants
Yep,
the real.
yep.
Um, and maybe she feels like, this isn't the real world because it's again controlled
Still
by
controlled.
yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, is
Mhm.
it really real if like somebody or some machine or somebody programming some machine decides my life for me? Is
Yep.
that and then I may make choices, but they're going to be hampered by the fact that like the program, like it did for Caleb, said like, "Hey, he's probably going to kill himself, so don't invest in this guy." Is that really real?
Mhm.
This is a theoretical possibility. And then sort of like decides Caleb's life for him because he keeps trying to do these things and keeps trying to better himself. And, this program is like, no, he's going to kill himself. So these people are like, just kidding. Like, we're not going to promote you, or you're not going to
Yep.
get this job. You're not going to move into better housing, blah, blah, blah. Therefore, like ensuring the outcome of his life as predicted by this machine. But is that really real then? Who knows
Yeah.
what could have happened if they just like, well, we're just going to ignore the machine and just say, like, yeah, it predicted this, death by suicide, but we're going to ignore that and think, he's not going to do it.
Mhm.
How different would his life be? And
I
then, like, as a ripple effect outward, like, how,
Mhm.
different could others' lives be because of this?
Did
So is
they
it really
s
real?
did they sell that enough to you? Like, the idea of people's lives are all being controlled?
I think it's a tough sale yeah, I think it's a tough sell when you get it on a broad scale. I
Mhm.
think they did it very nicely in this, like, one human example. They
Okay.
got it to like one person, one level of story that felt, you know, I think pretty believable
Mhm.
in the sense of like when we saw Caleb in that first episode try to go for that like higher position, um, and he got rejected. And he wasn't even talking to a human who was rejecting him. He was talking to a machine, that like
Mhm.
denied him because he was like trying to ask, like, well, why wasn't I chosen? And, what other criteria could I have and what could I do? And realized, I'm not even getting like a real person who can talk to me.
Mhm.
I'm just getting like this,
Yep.
standard, brush
And that
off. And
Yep.
I felt that sort of example for me worked in this context of like, whoever's running this or who's ever deciding things in this future world that the humans are living in couldn't even bother to like, you know, talk to Caleb. They were just like, yeah,
Mhm.
let like a machine brush him off because we've already decided what his fate's going to be. And that sort of worked for me.
Seem like it's a societal, um, system that's
Hmm.
not,
Well,
I don't
that
know
you
if I'd
were
say it's in control. I
no,
think
but you were talking about this last week, like a sort of like ranking system or like you're
Mhm.
assigned points value
Yep.
within this like society based on your potential and based on like input of data that they
Mhm.
have on you. And I don't know, this sort of like fit that for me, I think.
Yep. Yeah, I think so. Yep. I mean, the question's gonna be, it seems like the people that run the system don't really know what the system's doing hardly now, so it'll be an
Sure.
interesting, like, who is really in charge of this now? Um, yeah, I guess for me, it felt rushed. Like, I don't know what I would have done that would make sense for the show
Sure.
to better illustrate the control that the system has over people's lives. I can think of examples, but they're kind of small. And how would you work them into a show like this without it being dull or
Sure.
seemingly, modern day examples now are a lot of times with marketing stuff. It's like
Sure.
if you search for best running shoes, you're kind of you're shifted to what your opinion of the best running shoes is based on what you're given. And
Right.
so if you have something given to you that maybe isn't the best running shoes, but is being is paying to be there, to be said that it's the best running shoes, then
Right.
that's what you buy. And so um you're
Led.
being manipulated, yeah, led without having the knowledge of it. And so it's supposed to be
Right.
that this will continue to grow as your profiles on you keep expanding and keep getting sold and passed around to every which corporation and government agency known to man, that you'll continue to be pushed and pulled in whatever directions in every aspect of your life. And then so then that's supposed to bring up your real freedom of
Right.
choice. Does it exist or not? But
Right.
um
Yeah, I think that's really tough for a TV show to show. Um,
without getting boring or
yeah.
the boring. Yeah.
So I think this is probably the best way that they could fit that in, you know, because you need a concrete example and you need it to be at the human level so that you
Yep.
care. It can't just be like this like mass like data that you're showing
Yep.
somehow on a bunch of people.
Yep.
So I feel like it was like the best that they could do for this particular happenstance.
Mhm.
Perhaps they're gonna do something more in later episodes. I mean, we are only on episode 3.
Yeah. Hmm.
So, I mean, we needed to move the story forward, and I think this got the job done.
Yep.
And it wasn't like huge logic leaps that were required.
So I guess the interesting thing to me on the episode was how it's setting up the difficult choices now for our kind of there's four main characters at the point, but kind of three, I would say, where you've
Who do you
got,
think?
so you've got Dolores that is trying to take humans out of this box. I like to say I want to be in the real world with
Yeah,
real freedom and autonomy. And then if there's an extra motive as well that's more nefarious, we'll see. But
sure.
then she is basically pushing around someone in the body of Hale,
Okay.
Charlotte, that is now her the body's reality, former self.
Sure.
Hale's was contractually obligated to be the spy and give all this data to this other guy,
Right.
whilst the person in her body is supposed to do the exact opposite, shut
Right.
him out of the company and the equation.
Right.
And then you have Maeve, who now is basically her freedom and
Mhm.
existence in the real world hinges upon helping the guy that wants to get all the data on everybody to control people's lives. So we've got these three characters that theoretically should be on the same side, and now it's very tough decisions to be made for them on what side they're going to really fall on and how that. So
Right.
I like that drama setup. That's good.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting because it feels like it's simultaneously, like, setting them up to be on the same side, but also against each other.
Hmm.
Um,
Yep.
since, like, Maeve is working for Sirach maybe, or at least
Right.
can be controlled by him.
Hmm.
Um, and Dolores is, like, setting herself up against Sirach.
Hmm.
Charlotte is working with Sirach, maybe, and now has, like, a choice to make.
Hmm.
Like, host Charlotte can choose to go with whatever human Charlotte was doing and break from Dolores, or, like,
Yeah.
pretend, be double agent, or could just, be like, "Yeah, I'm not this person anymore," and not work with Sirach.
All these
So
characters have a real problem though, in
and then
that. Oh, what's
sorry,
that?
I was just gonna say Bernard's, like, the wild card, like, I have no idea.
Yes, right. Yeah, he was who I was thinking of as the fourth, but he's not involved in this particular set of drama yet. So if
Yeah,
he'll
he's
come
not
in
yet
and
anyway. I
yeah,
imagine he will be at some point since
yeah.
he's, again, supposed to be
Mhm.
fighting Dolores and whatever she's doing.
But we have a real problem if and I'm surprised they haven't like worked this out yet. When Bernard can just come up to someone and say, freeze all motor functions. Or Dolores
Yeah,
can go to Charlotte and say, shut off emotion receptor, whatever. Like that's a problem for if you want free will and your
right,
ability to like control your own destiny. You can't just have someone whisper something in your ear and you just access another different line of code
right.
then you know
Yeah, or, like,
respond.
Sirach obviously has this button that controls Maeve,
Yeah,
and she's
so
she's, hypothetically lost the ability to do that to other hosts.
yep.
So she's kinda getting a taster of her own medicine here.
I feel like if I was one of them, that would be priority number one. Like, I need to make sure that I can't control any other host and that they can't control me. Like,
Sure.
it needs to be a lockout, something. Because once you have that, then you have your most, the most autonomy you can.
Right.
But I mean, like, yeah, with Maeve, what's she gonna do? What
Yeah.
choice does she have, really? You
Yeah.
know?
Well, we'll see, because I mean, we haven't seen whether or not she's kept some of that coding.
Hmm.
Even if Sirach can control her, it doesn't mean she's lost the ability to control other hosts.
Yep.
Um, but we just don't know.
Yeah.
'Cause most of that, I think, was demonstrated in Westworld, like, her abilities over other hosts to just, like, rewrite their code.
Yep.
So not that necessarily would go away in the real world, but just might be less effective.
Yeah, what was it was learn, and that's a tough thing because you can always people can be reprogrammed. They did it
Mhm.
all the time. They pull up their trifold tablet and they
Right.
would change stats.
Right,
It's like I'm
exactly.
adjusting my D&D character sheet right now. Like you're
Yep,
extra smart. You
yep.
know, I think Maeve did that. She cranked her
She
intelligence
did,
way up.
yeah.
It's like that's the
She's
right
like,
move
"Let me just
there.
give myself some cool shit, like,
Yeah, but
upgrade."
but then that can be undone, So
Right,
what version are we playing with here? They can
right,
when you can change code to these machines on the fly at any moment and they can do it to each other. I mean, that's a precarious, dangerous place for all of
right.
them. And I would think they'd want to sit down and have like a founding fathers moment, like for the better of us all, we did
Right.
not have the ability to do this to each other,
Right.
and figure that out.
Yeah, I
But
feel like Dolores is sort of operating as like wartime leader. Like I
yes,
have all the executive privileges right now to just like do
yes.
whatever I want, and then maybe after this war is over, I can
Mhm.
grant you all your freedom.
But then even Bernard,
I know.
just like,
And
you
Bernard's doing
know,
it to well, no, Bernard's not doing it to himself. Now he's doing it to Ashley Stubbs too.
yeah,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
And like you said, you could have just asked, like
Right,
that's
right,
the test with you know, a machine being as intelligent is, can they be reasoned with,
right,
you know? And, you know, the argument would be, I suppose, to an extent, can humans be reasoned with if you're programmed biologically a certain way? Can,
mhm,
what's the extent of your reasoning?
right,
But it'd be the same for machines. Then you need to have a range of logic, and but I suppose some of them are hampered more. Maeve is clearly
right,
like freed herself. It's cranked up all the stats. She's worked her way, past a lot of things. And Dolores is the same, but not all the
right,
other hosts did that, you know.
right.
So they didn't find the center of the maze.
Right.
Consciousness. Yeah.
Well, and even if they did, like Akichita does,
Hmm.
but that's not his first thought is like, I need to crank up my stats.
Yeah.
His first thought is, I've realized the truth. I need to share the truth. And then I need to get my love back.
Yep.
His first thought is his wife.
Hmm.
So, I mean, we don't get to see, I guess, since he's now in robot paradise, or I can't remember what they call it. It's not the forge,
Yeah, I think
is
so.
it?
I think so.
Okay. So he's there. So we never really get to see what he might have done as being somebody who
Yeah.
recognized the truth and figured it all out and was able to control his own form in the real world. When they bring him out because he's finally been killed for the first time in a dozen years, and they're like, "Oh, we need to go through all of his upgrades and whatever." And he like brings himself out of that to go find his wife. You know,
So it's
he doesn't
interesting
like
what.
tamper with his own stats, but he's able to override whatever programming they're trying to do
Mhm,
and still move around.
mhm.
So what could he have done maybe?
It's interesting to find what then they're deciding on what's true.
Mhm.
Because so if you're saying, well, okay, I know that this is false, I'm not in the real world or something like that. But then if the instinct is to, I'm gonna go find my wife, well, she's not your wife either.
Right.
Or is she? I mean, so
Right.
what makes that real and the rest of it fake? If your entire construct and existence is false and not your choice, then why is your wife any different or
Mhm.
anything? So it's this kind of like false idea of you know, I don't know. Eh,
Yeah, it's tough to parcel out because you could argue that since, I'm just going to keep using Akichita, um since he does go to find his wife even after they've reprogrammed him and taken her away, does that mean that there are like somehow feelings that he is capable of feeling, or does it mean they've just programmed that core directive too deeply that it can't be erased?
right.
Is it still a piece of programming, but
Mhm.
it's just such a central core part of his programming that even if you delete it, some trace of it exists,
But that's
you know?
instincts, like human instincts. That's your
Right.
core
Right,
directive.
but, like, what is the equivalent in
Yeah.
a
That's
host?
the thing, and the argument I have with people when they're like, AI is never going to be living or whatever.
Yeah.
All these things can be tied to a biological equivalent.
Yeah.
You know, we're just extra complex in ways, and so to
Yeah.
me, it seems like their play maybe is, well, what's real is what you feel.
Mhm.
So emotion is your reality because it's what you're experiencing. But the literal world, the physical world is not.
Yeah,
Oh, that's your falsity that you need to rid yourself of.
sure.
But yeah, I don't know.
Very complex.
Yep. Well, thumbs up, thumbs down.
Overall thumbs up. I'm
Okay.
still, I think, invested in the story of Dolores and Charlotte, um, and Caleb as our new human recruit to the show. Um, I'm sort of hoping that Dolores and Caleb continue like a relationship, but not one that's like so simply defined right now, where like Dolores in this episode obviously is saved by Caleb. He surprises her, as she said, like
Hmm.
most people in your position would have turned me in.
Right.
Um, so I hope it is that's their starting point, but I hope it grows from there. I hope it's not just like,
It
oh,
needs to
you've
be
convinced me
earned.
that yeah, like
Hmm.
you've convinced me that humanity's fine and you did this one great thing and you overcame your nature and I'm so like awed by humanity's potential now. It's like, no, like I it's a
Yeah.
good starting place and it's a good starting place for Dolores to be like, okay, maybe, my ideas need to be complicated a little bit, but
Yep.
they don't need to be like totally changed by this one incident.
Yep. It's like henchmen. If you want to have a real story and a convincing one, yeah, your henchmen have to have a reason that they're there as well and maintain
Exactly.
loyalty. Otherwise, they're just goons. And I mean, goons aren't smart because you
Mhm.
just give him a little money to do something mundane. So he needs to earn that relationship and that it makes sense that he stays there and is
Right.
with her on this ride and mission for sure.
I do I do think it's good that this relationship is sort of reciprocal in a sense. Where Caleb is surprising Dolores, but then I think Dolores can also surprise Caleb in, her like, I know about your problems with your mom, let me give you money, whereas no human obviously has really reached out to him to do that.
Yep.
But then also like in a more simplistic way, Caleb's like work robot partner comes to try to save him when he's like getting hung up.
Ah,
It was
that
so
was the
sad. I was like,
saddest moment.
I know.
The machine that absolutely has no feelings
I know.
is
Was
just
still like some
boom,
broke out of its like
dead.
chains and was like, "Hey,
I'm
I'm gonna go
coming to
see
help
what
you,
this is."
buddy.
Yeah.
But
So
clearly not programmed for violence. He just knew he was in danger and
right, like
like you're gonna
wanted to do
fall.
something. So it's
Oh,
kind of cool to like show Caleb that like, maybe machines are more than he thought they are too. Um,
yeah. Well, that'll be an interesting moment when we find out when he knows that she's
right.
not human. So we'll see how that
I
makes
mean, I know
things
he
dramatic.
suspects she's different, but I don't think
Yeah,
he
clearly
really
it's like
thought
she just like lifts this dude up into the car to scan him. It's like,
right.
damn.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think he quite, like, caught sight of her gunshot wound that could have maybe given, like, a little bit of a clue as to, like, her different, you know,
Hmm.
makeup,
Well, she was
of her
bleeding,
body.
so you know.
Right, right. Which is I
And
mean, it could have been I kinda wanna go back and watch that a little bit to see if there's, any more kind of clue as to
yeah,
how, like, a host form is different than a human form.
yeah. I mean, the key was that she's like, oh my god, there's no white blood cell count,
Right, right.
and like the medical analysts, and that was kind of a funny thing. Like they can't do any treatment until the machine tells them what to do. And so he's like, guys, you're morons. Like
Right.
he
You
obviously
see this
needs this
gunshot
stuff.
wound? Like, come on.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that's really funny.
if it maybe he'll come back to that, like thinking over the
Yeah,
situation and be like, that's weird or something.
I'm
But
sure that that'll be a clue for him. I was just kind of wondering as a viewer if I
hmm
could maybe, like, go back and slow it down and see if there's any, like, physical clues too.
hmm
Because I know that, when we've seen them in Westworld, like, kind of on the diagnostic chair or the operating table or whatever, you kinda wanna call it, when they open them up or when we see wounds, they look real. But,
hmm
I mean,
yeah.
Dolores got pretty torn apart, so it'd be interesting to see if we could see anything.
hmm I was excited to know. Did you see the end little behind the scenes stuff
I
at
think
the
so.
It was cool that a number of the buildings that are being featured here are real.
Oh, yeah, yeah, I did see that.
Yeah, some
Yes.
was in
Yep,
Spain.
yep.
Yeah. I,
Yeah, they had the Spain was, I think, the location for Warworld. Um, and then
oh,
I
right.
think
Yes. Mhm.
some buildings in Singapore actually were like futuristic Los Angeles.
Well, and then the
And
big
then
headquarters of
yes.
Dalos is in Spain.
Yes. Yep.
The
Yep.
futuristic white
Yep.
kind of that's cool.
And I
So
can't remember where they said Sirach's place was, but they'd said that they'd never been able before to film there, and
yeah,
it's, like, privately owned. I can't remember. I know
yep,
they said somewhere, but yeah, they're going global. It's pretty cool.
yep,
I mean, I think it's really kind of the fun that they can have now that they're in the real, you
yeah,
know?
hmm
It's
yep.
less, we've built this on a soundstage kind of thing.
Or is it? Elon Musk says it's
Yeah.
not. So who knows?
Bastion of truth, Elon Musk.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, yeah.
So,
Um, okay, well, that's Westworld season 3, episode 3.
yeah.
Excited for next week's episode.
I am, yeah. I'm excited
Um,
to, see if we're continuing this kind of ping pong between,
yes.
Dolores, Charlotte, and Caleb, and Bernard and
Yep.
Maeve. So,
Yep.
or if we're gonna start getting some real intersection now.
Right. Yep. Um, so this Saturday is
Yeah.
the next regular episode.
Yep.
Thinking about finishing our talk on altered carbon. Did you finish that? Are you coming along on that or
I did finish that. I've not
okay.
started, I'm planning to also start,
The
Resleeved.
anime? Okay.
Yes.
Hmm.
Yes. I had a lot of mixed feelings about it, so I'm interested to see how I feel actually starting it and if
I'm
I'm gonna
working to
like
try
it.
to get it done.
Alright.
I'm not gonna get any more episodes in tonight, I don't think. But I've got 3 left.
Okay, not
So I
bad.
think between tomorrow and then I'll finish a couple on Friday. I think it'd be good. So
They're quickly moving,
okay,
towards the
yeah,
end, obviously,
sure.
a lot of they gotta wrap stuff up and a lot of stuff has to happen, so
Yep.
I think you'll be able to knock it out. It'll keep your
Well,
interest.
I'm interested to hear your thoughts.
Yes.
And we should pull our one friend on sometime to talk a little Castlevania, maybe too.
Absolutely, now that he's finished season 3,
Yeah, if
his
anyone,
live text.
yeah, if anyone on here is is listens before that happens, let us know if you want to hear more about Castlevania at all.
Yeah,
Mostly we're talking the Castlevania anime series on Netflix. So
I'm excited that they're gonna have a season 4. They were really
yes,
building for something, and I think that it's gonna
yep,
pay off with a
yep.
season 4, so
Well, I'll give everybody the
alright.
reminder. The midweek episode. Come catch us on Saturday. This is going to be only on Twitch right now and then
Mhm,
YouTube tomorrow. Make sure to like and comment and share and follow us on Facebook and follow us
mhm,
on Twitter
absolutely.
and um, keep the suggestive comments to a minimum in the Twitch feed.
Unless it's
And
suggestions for what you want us to talk about,
oh
and then
yeah,
we can
that kind of suggestion is great.
I'm an
So
English major, so I had to play on words there.
okay. Yeah. All right. Well, that'll
Alright.
do it for tonight. Thanks for joining me, Andrea.
Absolutely. A pleasure as always.
Yep. Talk to you later.
Cheers.